What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tyler. Behind me we have the Sandstorm and the Sandworm, and today we're actually not doing anything with the vehicles today, but we're talking about my new diesel heater that I just got in. This is from Hcalory. They call it the toolbox because honestly it looks like a toolbox. So we're going to be talking about that just in time for fall and winter camping. We're gonna get this set up. It's completely empty right now. Have not turned it on yet, so we're gonna do that on camera today. I went and got some diesel, and I'm gonna show you everything it comes with in the box, talk a little bit about the features, and yeah, just show it off a little bit. But before we do that, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's roll the intro. All right, guys, so this is actually my first diesel heater that I've owned. I've looked at some of the other brands, and this, honestly, so far, I haven't started it up yet or tested it. We're gonna do that. This video is gonna be the initial setup. We're gonna run it, check out some of the features, see how long it takes to really heat up, and then later, when we're doing some winter camping, we will actually test it long-term, see how long we can, get a tank out of it. This boasts a 42-hour runtime with diesel, so that's pretty good, and it boasts a 3-minute heat up time, which is also awesome. It's got an app for it. It's got all these great features. It has a brand new oil pump for this newer generation that makes it a quieter runtime as well, so when you're camping, you're not going to be hearing the diesel heater go all night. This does have the auto stop start feature, so if it starts to get too hot in your tent or your camper or whatever you're using this in, it will shut off and then turn back on once it reaches a certain temperature. So you'll want to keep this little thermostat in your camper or tent, wherever. So I'll be using this in my tent, so we will pull this little thermostat out, and obviously we will keep this in the tent. And it does have a lot more wire inside. Everything's just still zip tied because this is brand new. So this is the first initial setup and unboxing. So let's go ahead and actually start that process. Okay, so let's start with what you get in the box. So what I thought was cool is you get a couple different wires. You get this extension wire. You get the normal battery setup, so you can plug this in. You can run this straight to a 12-volt battery if you want, or you have this whole power block right here that you can plug into a battery like this Anker Solix I have next to me. So that's what we're going to be using today. I don't have a 12-volt battery, so this is great because you can plug this in, plug it straight into here, and it'll run. And I'll link all this stuff below, including this Anker battery, because this thing has went to every camp out with me. And then next we have, obviously the exhaust, some brackets, and some hardware. We have the hose for the vent. So we'll definitely set this stuff up, and then you have the actual exhaust hose. So we're gonna get this set up, and then we're gonna put diesel in it, and we are going to test it out. Okay, so we've got the exhaust clamped on, and then we have the actual heat component clamped on. So this is what's gonna go into your tent to push the heat into your tent or your camper or whatever it may be. When I get my camper finished someday, I will obviously have this or something similar bolted into my camper so that I could just connect this hose. But anyways, you want to make sure your exhaust is pointed away from wherever you're sleeping so it exits the building. So it's pointed out of the garage right now. And then we're going to open this up real quick so I can show you guys those components. Mosquitoes out here are crazy. And then we have, oops, didn't mean to fling that open. So you open this up, you have the remote right here, so you can control the thermostat, or you can take this into wherever you're sleeping. I'm gonna have this in my tent whenever I'm sleeping, so I will run this cord into my tent. But for today's video, we're not gonna do that. Let me undo this remote though. And then here's your actual heating component. Here is your diesel tank. So we're gonna put diesel in this. We're gonna get this thing fired up, plugged into the battery bank over here, and we're gonna see how long it actually takes to heat up. And then I'm gonna install the app, and we'll go over the app a little bit. Okay, so we are going to get the roto packs here all opened up. I just went and got diesel in it for the first time. Take this little cap off. Oh, yep. Make sure I don't drip anywhere. That's the one thing that is kind of inconvenient about the roto packs, is the fact that your nozzle is literally soaking in the diesel the whole time, or the gas. But it's whatever. It's for emergency purposes anyways. So, yep. See, already spilled some. Okay, I didn't feel like going to find a towel, so we just got this t-shirt that was sitting here in the garage. Doesn't fit me anyways, so. All right, we've got that diesel dried off. We're gonna put this cap back on. Okay, I just discovered. So this extension is actually for your thermostat. So you guys can unplug your thermostat, plug this in, and add more length to your thermostat so you can run it into your tent. I will definitely be doing that. That way it does the auto stop start function. So if it gets too hot in the tent, it'll shut off. If it gets cold, it'll turn back on. Anyways, let's go ahead and move forward. Let's close this back up. Make sure wires are out of the way. Close this back up. And then, like I said, we're using my Anchor power bank here. So we're gonna use this power block. We're gonna plug this into the back here. Make sure that's tight. And then we will plug this straight in there. So once I add power, it should kick on. Yep. All right, it has kicked on. So we've got power here. It's showing we got 13 volts from that, which is plenty. Let's just go through some of these arrows, settings. Okay, so I just did a crash course. We've learned some of the basics. So if you hold down this will turn on just air circulation. It's just a fan to circulate the air, just ventilation. If you hold this back down, it turns that off. That's your voltage. This is another display. I believe that's supposed to be altitude or something. I'm gonna have to look at that to see what that really is. But if you hold these two together, it is going to throw up this mountain, which is high altitude. So it's gonna do its computer system and adjust the oil, fuel, and air mixture to account for higher altitudes. So we're gonna turn that off. We don't really go into the mountains that often. And then to turn the actual heater on, you're gonna hold down the power button. And so right now it is in the manual mode. So if I turn it all the way down, you can see the display there, heating up, cooling down. So we can turn that up, and it even shows that it is plugged into that right there. And then you can change your displays as needed. 79 degrees is the ambient temperature, what it's reading of the actual components inside. And then you can change it to the voltage that it's getting. This is the room temperature. I'll have to read what that is again. And then that's manual setting. So if you hold this one, you can switch it to constant temperature, which is where you will adjust how hot or cold you want it inside. So we're gonna turn this up, obviously, because it's like 80 degrees outside. We're gonna set it to that, and then you can actually press that, and it turns on the auto stop start. So when it reaches that temperature, it'll shut off, and then when it gets below plus or minus a certain amount, it will start back up. So let's go ahead and get this thing heated up. So I'm gonna put the mic, but you can hear that it's starting to suck in some of the diesel and start to pump the fuel. And remember guys, this is the initial setup, so it's taking it a minute, but I can hear it. It's picking up speed. It's starting to pump that fuel in a little more. And you do have a little scale or fuel gauge right here to show you how full or empty you are. But it's starting to get going. This does boast a 3-minute time to actually warm up. Like the room temperature I showed, it is 86 out, so it might not really pick up because it's already warm out. So we will definitely do a long-term test when it's actually time for some winter camping. Okay, so this bad boy wasn't going because I didn't have enough fuel, so I added 80% tank. Now it's picking up. Now you can really hear it. But it's so quiet. Like, I'm super impressed with how quiet it is. There's no like crazy engine noise. It seems to be running smooth. Once that fuel gets flowing through there, there's no more of that noise. So it's doing great. Already getting warm. I can feel it on my leg. Yeah, super stoked about using this winter, especially since I have the cable extension for this thermostat in order to run the auto stop start feature so I don't burn myself up in the middle of sleep. Because that was one of the things I disliked about one of the other diesel heaters that I use, is the fact that I had to wake up, you know, every 30 minutes to an hour to either turn it off or turn it back on because I'd get too hot or I'd get too cold. This does it itself, so super excited about that. And then once this heats up, we'll check out the app. So this thing boasted 3 minutes to heat up. It did it shorter. Granted, it is already 86 degrees outside, so I bet when it's like in the 30s or 20s, it'll take a little longer. But this thing's already hot. I have it set to 104. Obviously, I will never have it set like that. I do have to do something so this hose isn't going to be touching the ground whenever I go somewhere, because I don't want to burn anything. But anyways, another great thing about this is I will be using it this winter in the garage when I'm doing stuff. This will heat the whole garage. This is a great emergency heater. If the power goes out, gas goes out, something goes out, I can use this as an emergency heater, put the exhaust out the window or my doggy door, and we're good to go. We can heat up our bedroom or a living room or something. So I'm super excited about this. I'm gonna turn it off because it actually is getting pretty hot, and then we're gonna download the app. And it does have a cool down time, so you don't really want to move this until it's fully cooled down. All right guys, so we've got the app downloaded on the phone. We let the heater had to cool down before I could connect the app. It had to do its thing. So we're able to go in here. We can set a Bluetooth password. You can change the units, the language, the altitude comp, but you have to turn on the heater and set this on the altitude mode. And so what that does is that adjusts the fuel to air ratio depending on the altitude you're at, which is pretty cool. You can change the timer settings, so you can have this turn off after a certain time. Me personally, I'm going to be using the auto stop start and keeping the thermostat in my tent so that I don't have to wake up and adjust it so often. You can change it to the high altitude. You can have it to where it just blows air and filters air. You can turn that off, and then from the app you can actually start the heater. It will ask you on the screen, activate the device, yes or no. You'll hit yes, and then you can either set it to how high you want the fan, which is up to 10, or you can change it to the temperature mode, and you can set it to the temperature you want. So if I'm camping, I don't mind it being a little colder, so honestly, and you can actually type in the number, so honestly I'd probably keep it at like 60 degrees in my tent, just because the tent's smaller. It'll feel a lot warmer. And then you can turn on the auto stop start feature, and then so now I don't know if you guys can hear it, but because it's 86 degrees outside, the heater has already shut off because I just set it to 60 degrees. So if we set it back up to if we turn on the heating and I set it auto stop start, and then we adjust the temperature up to 104, it looks like you have to set the temperature beforehand because now it shut itself off, so you can't change the temperature because it's not 60 degrees outside. Anyways, that's the app. Super simple. super easy to use. It looks like you can connect more than one heater. Right now it's showing 180 meters above sea level. I don't know if that's right, but anyways, super simple app. My first initial thoughts on this is super easy to use, super quiet compared to the other diesel heaters I've used. The other ones actually sound like a motor running. This one's quiet and smooth. You don't have the clicking noise that some of the other ones make. Pretty much out of the box, all you have to do is connect the heat hose that goes into your tent and the exhaust hose, put some diesel in it, turn it on, you're good to go. It does have to be above 27% or 1.5 liters in order to actually start. So I've got it at 4 liters, 80%. And if you have this all the way to 100% full, this will last you 42 hours. So this will last a full weekend for me, because you're not going to have this running during the day when you're hanging out with friends or riding the trails. You're only going to have this on at night. So sleeping, 8 hours a night, you could get a week out of one tank of diesel. So super excited about this. This is the Hcalory. I will link it below along with the battery bank I'm using. But if you have a 12 volt setup, you can use that as well, because it does come with the plugs for that. And as I showed earlier, it does come with a remote. Me personally, I'm just going to use the app. It runs through Bluetooth, so even if you don't have service, it'll still work. And you have the extension for the thermostat control panel right here, so you can add that extension in super easy. Run this into your tent so that it automatically shuts off when it reaches the temperature you have set, because if you leave that outside, your heater's going to run all night. You definitely want that thermostat where it's going to adjust accordingly to the actual heated unit that you're in. But anyways, that's it for this first unboxing. We will do a long-term review once we get to some actual winter camping. As you can see, I'm in shorts and a shirt. It's 85 degrees outside. I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. It is not really the prime time to really test this out in the garage yet, but we will in a later video. So anyways, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.